Hi friends, thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a project today for the Vicki Boutin design team, and I'm going to be creating this 12 by 12 layout that you see on the screen today. This is going to be a coordinating layout or a companion layout to a layout that I've already created. So I'm kind of starting here with the backwards by design teaching method here, showing you what we're going to end up with at the end, this layout that you see here. And I want to show you how it coordinates with another project that I created for the Vicki Boutin design team for this album that I'm working on for my niece and her little girl. So the layout that you see on the right here is what we're going to do today. And I wanted it to coordinate with this layout on the left that I've already created. So I'm using a bunch of coordinating products and color scheme and that kind of thing so that it's not a traditional double page spread, but rather a complementary or coordinating layout. You can see that I've used some of the same pattern paper, the star theme, really similar color palette. I've even used some of the same embellishments like that journaling card on both of the layouts so that the layouts really look nice together, but they're not a traditional double page spread as I've said. So I want to take you through making this layout that's on the right today. I'm going to show you every part of this process. And I just wanted to explain that coordinating or complementary kind of idea here at the beginning. So I'm starting off with an older stencil from one of Vicki's previous collections. I wanted some circles and to coordinate with some of the mixed media that I'm going to do today. I'm working, of course, on the foundations paper, and this is some of Vicki's acrylic matte gel medium. I'm going to run that through the stencil here in two areas diagonal to each other. So in the top right corner and the bottom left corner. I kind of wanted to vary the size of my circles here with my gel medium here. So you can just see that I'm, getting a variety of different circle sizes, different in the top corner from the bottom. Now I've let that dry and it's all ready to take some other mediums here. So I'm going to be working with the art crayons. This is that kind of almost like a gray, but kind of with a little hint of greeny blue in it. And I really like this because it's super subtle. So I've just taken my crayon, I've scribbled it out on my plastic, and I've watered it down. And now I'm going to use my brayer to just pick up some of that pigment and roll it across my paper. And, I never really it's not that I never like, but I tend to gravitate more towards soft colors and stuff that's really subtle in my backgrounds. I know that you guys have probably noticed that pattern in my mixed media. It's just me. It's what I do. It doesn't matter if I'm doing a watercolor painting or something with acrylics or whatever. I tend to do stuff that's really soft. And my cards are usually a little bit more on the soft side as well. Sometimes I work outside of that construct, but I do find that I do like things to be a little bit lighter. So you're going to see me building up some color. I'll continuously add more of this pigment to my paper with that brayer, just kind of rolling and lifting and rolling to get it to move around. I'm going to use my heat tool to dry in between my different layers. I'm going to do some splattering over top of this to get a little bit more texture. And you can just see how that acrylic gel medium resists the pigment so that you can still see those circles, and the circles become more defined with the more pigment that I add, and it just looks interesting. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to use this whole paper, which obviously you saw when you saw the layout when it was finished there at the beginning. I'm going to just use a chunk of this, and I'm going to use the rest of it on other projects, and I'll just leave it in my stash to pull out. But I'm only going to use a couple of pieces of this background paper or this mixed media piece that I'm creating for my project today. I wanted just a really little tiny bit of yellow in my background as well. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of yellow and just once again use that technique of lifting, rolling, lifting, moving my brayer back and forth from side to side, just to get that little nice touch of pigment on there, and it's just creating some really fun marks right on the paper to make it look more distressed and textured in that way. Now this is the black crayon. I've scribbled that out and mixed a little bit of that up and getting a little bit of that on there, and of course it's really diluted, so it's not going to look like black. It just kind of looks like gray a little bit, and again, getting more and more texture built up here with this background. I'm going to add even more texture through another stencil. This is one of the Storyteller stencils, and I'm dry brushing some of the black art crayon on there. My stencil brush is dry and the crayon is dry, and I'm just picking that up and brushing it through the stencil to create a little bit more detail and texture to that pattern, or to the paper that I'm creating for my layout here. So yeah, now I'm going to use a stamp. And this is a Tim Holtz stamp. I will make sure that I link this up in the description box below. This is one of my favorite stamp sets from Tim Holtz. It's just got some really, really interesting bits in these different stamps. I just love how this adds a little bit of text. And I just wanted to go around all of the different little areas around the outside edge and a few little bits of that text in the center as well. And just to get that little bit of extra detail and text here and there on the paper. Now I'm taking some of Vicki's gesso, and I'm going to just apply that to that plastic on my desk there. I'm going to pick it up with my brayer again, and I'm going to brayer this across my paper in different little areas here. And that's just going to tone things down a little bit, add just some white back on there, tone down that text just a tiny little bit and create a little bit more texture even. So the gesso I'm getting it on there fairly thick, so it is going to dry with a little bit of texture to it. And I love that personally. I think that's really neat. It's super subtle, but it just adds that little bit of extra interest to the paper. And I really like how that looks. And I'm just, again, really light with my brayer. I'm rubbing, moving it on there a little bit, lifting it up, moving it and lifting it, and so on. Now I've taken one of the dark blue gray crayons, and I've activated that with some water, and I'm just going to add some drips to the top. And this is just going to, again, create more interest in that area at the top of the paper. And I'm just going to continue to let that drip down. I'm directing where the drips are going with my brush so that they don't sort of like go astray across the paper horizontally. I want them to drip down. And so I'm just kind of helping them out a little bit there. I'll dry in between here and use my paper towel roll to get a little bit of that lifted up. I'm taking a solo cup, and I just keep some of these in my craft space here for water containers when I'm working on different stuff where I need a cup of water. And I'm going to get 2 of those larger rings. And now I'm just taking the lid of the gesso container and just kind of trying to create a triangular pattern at this point. But as we see later here, I tear the paper, so that triangle is no longer a triangle. I create a triangle in a different way, and I'll show you that when I'm working on the project. Adding some splatters here just for a little bit more texture. And here you can see that I have torn my paper. This is my photo. I'm just showing you that I want the photo over to the right side because it just seems like the logical way to put that photo with the way that she's standing over to the right. I'm just showing you that I have stitched on that paper, and I just tore it straight down the edge. Like, I didn't do anything fancy. Obviously, it's just torn. And I wanted to use this little bit of 8x6 pattern paper in behind my photo mat area as well. So loving how this is looking. I really like how that mixed media piece that I created goes over top of this star paper, just to break up the pattern of that paper a little bit and just make it look a little bit more interesting as well. Not that the star paper isn't interesting. It's beautiful. I love it. And I've been wanting to use it on a layout with this sweet little niece of mine, and with that piece of ephemera with the little with the moon and the stars on it. And I just thought this was perfect. And so here you can just see I wanted to leave a little bit of that navy edge with the stars over on the right to kind of coordinate with the project that's going to be in the left page protector. And I don't want to use up a whole sheet of this Stardust 8x6 paper just because, like, it's really gorgeous, and I want to make sure I retain as much of that in my stash as I can. So I've torn it and just stuck that in underneath the mixed media piece. And here you can just see I'm using a piece of that quill paper in the 8x6 for a photo mat behind my photo. Now my photo has been trimmed out with a Tim Holtz decal edge trimmer. And I did print the photo at 5x3 in black and white. And I'm just working on the photo mat here. I'm using some collage paper from my stash with some text on it in the photo mat area as well. This is just some inexpensive craft foam from Walmart or Michael's. And I'm going to stick that onto my photo and pop it up with that little bit of foam to give it a bit of dimension as well. I'm going to use my paper distress tool to distress that quill paper that's the first mat on my photo. And I'm going to be adding some other little bits and pieces of ephemera to my little photo mat area as well. I want to just trim out that collage paper, and just so that there's just a little bit of that collage paper sticking out here and there, just to add a little bit of texture to the photo mat. I like how that looks. I'm going to just make sure that I have that adhered down and get that all ready to add to my layout here. And I am going to use some liquid adhesive when I put this down onto the layout, just because it's going to be up against that mixed media that I created. And if you're sticking anything to your paper that has lots of mixed media on it, make sure that you use a really good liquid adhesive. I think that's really important anyways, because if you don't, things aren't going to stick well to it and they'll just fall off in your page protectors, which is kind of annoying. So I always like to try to make sure I have things well adhered. The nice thing about this Art Institute art glitter glue is that it is acid free. And I always feel like a little bit of a hypocrite when I say that, because I don't really know if the other products I've used on this project are acid free, but I do know that that glue is acid free. So it is going to be in the photo mat layer. So I guess it's still important, right? Now I love that little circular piece, that little circular ephemera die cut piece with the moon and the stars on it. And it is going to be the third circular piece. The other two circular areas I created with those lids, and then this little circular die cut piece is just helping to create that little triangle there. I'm taking some of the die cuts from the ephemera pack. I'm going to staple them together and then use them to the right of the photo just to create that little bit of embellishing and layering in my photo mat area. I'm going to just staple these together, A, because I like to use staples on my projects, and B, it's just an easy way to adhere these together. And I am going to also use that little ticket piece as well on this project. And I will use my paper distressing tool often as I do, just because I love how it just adds that extra little bit of texture and creates that dimension on your project. So I am going to pop some of these little bits up on some foam adhesive as well to create the layering that I want to add. So I'm going to put some foam adhesive on top of that and then add these other pieces to that foam adhesive and create that layering and dimension in that way. Foam adhesive is a really great way to create that dimensional effect on your projects. And I did also add some foam adhesive to that circular die cut piece there to the left of the photo. I created a little bit of a banner out of that mixed media paper as well, and I fishtailed it and added that in behind my journaling spot, and that's that little circle ephemera piece. I'm using the decoupage of alphas from Storyteller to create my title, hour, and star, and then the word little is actually some gold foam alphas from my stash. So the title is Our Little Star. And I love that title. I think it's super cute with the star theme. I also wanted to use some of the star washi. I love that stuff. It's so gorgeous. And it has the gold foiling for the stars. So I tore a strip and I'm just adding that in over where the die cut pieces are to the right of the photo. I'm going to stick that down. And I also wanted to go into the cardstock stickers and some of the other pieces from Storyteller and see what else I would like to add to this project. And that's always fun, right? Going into your stash of your collection and just adding adding and adding and adding until you feel like you've got enough details on your project. I love these little puffy star stickers, and they're perfect for this project. I add tons of those, the little teeny tiny, the smallest gold ones. I really peppered those around the project. I love those. They're so sweet. And I love the little pops of gold, and I'm going to add some more gold at the end with some splatters. So I just love these little gold tiny stars. I think they're perfect. So I'm just going to kind of fill in some of the spaces close up to the photo and the journaling area there, all the different little areas where I feel like it could use a little gold star or one of these little stars. The bigger stars, I mostly kept those over to the mixed media paper area where you can kind of see them a little bit better. And I'm just going to finish adding these here and there around the project. So like I said, I absolutely adore these little puffy stars. They're so sweet. And I still have some in my stash. I feel like I'm hoarding them a little bit, but I'm gonna try to use them up as much as I can here before we start working with the color study collection. I'm excited about color study. Oh, let me know in the comments if you saw Vicki's YouTube live on Friday night, and what was your favorite part of color study. It's just so gorgeous. I love it. Can't wait to start working with it too. It's stunning. So I'm just finishing up with my stars and just trying to balance them out and make sure that I've, tried to put them in a variety of different areas there. There's plenty of room here where I'm showing you for journaling, lots of different spots where my niece will be able to write her story down about this little vacation that they had taken together. And I think this was the last day of their vacation in this photo. And I just think that they just had a really great time. I am going to add some white splatters with Dina Wakely Gloss Spray. I love this stuff. And it's going to create some really fun texture. And it shows up really, really well on that mixed media piece. I don't know if you can see it well on screen, but if you go over to Vicki's blog and you look at the blog post for today, there will be lots of close-ups in the blog post so that you can see close-up shots of what these different little areas look like. And I'm using one of the original paintbrushes from Vicki's original paintbrush set, and it's really had a lot of use and abuse. So it's kind of showing it's a little bit worse for wear, but I think I use this brush on just about every project where I do splatters. I love it because it's nice and small, it's nice and fine, and it still works perfectly well. I just make sure that I clean it really well, especially after using this product because it is an acrylic. And if you let it dry in the brush, it will destroy the brush. So I always make sure that I get that washed out right away. And I also wanted to add some gold splatters as well. So I let the white splatters dry completely. And now I'm adding some Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine. And how many of you still have gold color shine in your stash? Have you still got some? Are you hoarding it a little bit? Because you know that I don't think we can get it anymore, can we? I haven't seen it for a long time. But I think I still have 3 or 4 bottles of it in my stash because when it started to disappear, I started to stash it a little bit so that I don't run out anytime soon. Now, this is one of the cardstock stickers, and I just thought it was perfect because I think it says, "Oh My Stars," and it is navy with gold. So I just finished that little area over off to the right of the photo with that. And I'm going to hold this up to the camera so that you can see it up close a little bit. I'm trying to show it sort of on an angle in the light so that you can see the details of the splatters that I added there and how that just adds so much really nice texture. And the gold color shine does really sparkle and shine and shimmer. I love it. Definitely looks really nice and so pretty on that navy. The white splatters and the gold splatters look really nice on that navy paper too with the stars. That is the Stardust paper from Storyteller. Love that paper. I love both sides of it. It's got that really nice text on the other side of it. I just wanted to distress the edges of that 8x6 paper in behind the photo there a little bit, and the little banner. And that's going to be it for my project today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you check the links to all of the products I used today in the description box below. I'd love to have you as a new subscriber on my channel, and please hit that like button. Have an amazing day.